Hi, it's another fantastic day in Coto de Caza, Orange County, California. Today is Christmas, December 25th. Merry Christmas. Unbelievable weather we're having. We're at our golf course here. Here's the clubhouse, the starter, putting green, and the golf course, of course, is out here. But today we're going to talk about this agave succulent. This is a blue flame agave. It's a hybrid between a foxtail agave and a shawii agave. He's a medium-sized plant, greenish or bluish leaves. He's a little bit stiff. All right, see this? A little bit stiff, but also a little pliable. He's got little serrations on the edge or the margin here, but not so much as our larger agave americana plants that have huge serrations that are just kind of cut you and grab your clothes and rip them. Okay, and it ends with this little terminal point here. So this is a hybrid I mentioned. It's a hybrid of a foxtail agave that we have up here. Here's a foxtail agave, or agave attenuata. He's very tender. See how pliable and tender this guy is? Also, he has no serrations on the edges, so he's completely smooth. Won't cut you at all. Comes to a terminal point here, which is also kind of very soft. It'll poke you, but it won't be a problem at all. So that's the best thing about this plant, is it's so smooth and tender. And the leaves here, they start out narrow and they widen till you get to the tip. They get about 2 feet long, 6 inches wide. They're a little light gray or yellow-green in color. And these stems here at the base, down here, the stem, get about, I don't know, about 5 feet long. It's a monocarp. So it blooms once in its lifetime, and then it dies. Okay? So the other plant of our blue flame is the shawii agave. Agave shawii. Comes from Baja California. It's a perennial evergreen. Gives us a rosetta glossy green leaves, which are covered with sharp teeth, serrated margins, and a very sharp point at the end. And it's also a monocarp, so it will die after it blooms. Now back to our blue flame agave. This plant was created in the 1960s by cross-pollinating the pollen of a foxtail agave with the seeds of a shawii agave. Then it became very popular in the 1980s, and I think it's probably the most common agave we have out here in Orange County. It comes from the family Asparagaceae. It's a perennial evergreen plant, drought tolerant, can grow in a whole variety of different soils as long as they're well draining. You see these are on a little slope here, so we get good drainage here. Wow. So here, it gets its name blue flame because the color of the leaves are a little bluish and greenish, but the shape looks like a flame from like a gas flame. Starts out narrow, gets wider, comes to the tip here at the end. So presumably looks like a flame like you get from your stove. Okay? And they're blue-green in color, sometimes more bluish in the young leaves and greenish in the older leaves. And the color comes from a little waxy cuticle on the surface here. Gives it that bluish color. Okay, and they start out thinner, like I mentioned. They get wider, and then they come to this tip here. And on the edges, we have little serrations, but we have this little brown kind of margin and a little white or yellow strip just underneath. And if you get it just right in the sun, it tends to glow just like that. Gives us this beautiful glowy sort of look. Wow. So we have some of these out here that are blooming. I'll show you. Okay, at the end of this video. But here, I'll show you the stems. So it starts out as a rosette really close to the ground, like here. And it's almost stemless, but as it grows, these leaves will fall off, like here, okay? And you get this long stem, you see, under here. And this plant will typically grow about 2.5 feet tall, 3 feet wide, but sometimes they're known to get even 5 feet tall. And they grow together in clumps, too, because I like to create little pups. I'll show you those too. Wow, they're blue flame agave. And also our foxtail agave up here. Here's a couple of agave Americana plants. But I'll show you up here how they all clump together. So here's our blue flame, all clumped together. See that? So typically you don't find this a lot with agaves. They tend to separate, but these guys, they clump together like this. And they rarely bloom. So you get lots and lots of these all crowded together. And typically if they get too much sun, they might burn a little bit, like on the tips here. You get some little spots as well. Okay, and they burn along the edges. And if there's insufficient light, they'll lose their shape, and they'll lose their chlorophyll, and then they'll start to fade almost like a yellow color. But they can survive in very little water. But if you want to promote more growth, give them lots of water, lots of fertilizer. See these guys here, they're in the shaded area. They kind of fall apart a lot. Okay, and they're hardy down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to show you here, we have one that's flowering. Look at our euphorbia. Wow, that's fantastic colors. So come over here. So they do have some diseases, like scale insects, that leave a little sticky substance and a foul odor on the older leaves. And I said they suffer from chlorosis sometimes, or lack of chlorophyll. And that'll give them a, see, the color starts to fade like this. And they lose that green look. Okay, and all the energy from this plant, by the way, he's kind of dying. It's all going up to this beautiful flower stalk that I think has got to be like 25 feet tall. Holy smokes. Wow. So he's going to bloom once in his lifetime. He's going to die. You see how he's dying here, of course. And he's a very infrequent bloomer. We have two more I want to show you as well. So they start at the top with the flowers way at the top here. Those are new flowers. And then they bloom with all the pretty bees. And then they come down here and then they start to die and emit their seeds. All right, let's take a look at a couple more stalks. See how these are all coming close together here. But they are browning. Ow, stuck myself. And these guys aren't super well drained. See how they're on a flat surface, so they might be getting too much water. But if you have these at home, always be sure to clear out the dead leaves. They tend to look a lot prettier, and it helps these guys grow a little better. So here we have a couple more flower stalks. They're a bunch grass. This is called molly grass, Mollenbergia capillaris, and it's got these purple seeds and flowers that come up. Look at that, beautiful. Like to wave around in the wind. So let's take a look at these flower stalks here. They're a little shorter. Wow, this guy's probably only 15 feet tall. This guy here might be about 20 feet tall. So is this plant edible? My answer is it's sort of edible. So a lot of agaves have leaves that are filled with sap called agave nectar. Tastes like molasses. Even the leaves can be eaten raw, but this one here tends to be a little toxic, so don't eat the leaves. And if you're real sensitive, you get contact dermatitis from some of the sap and the oils. So this plant here, see how he's flowering? And he's a bit dying down here. too. But you can eat the flowers if you want. So they are edible, both raw and cooked. And to propagate this, you use stems or offsets. You got little pups here growing out of the stem here. So if you're able to remove these little pups, you can replant them and they'll grow just nicely. Like here, over here. These guys here just growing out of the stem. On this guy here. So the benefits of this plant, as opposed to other agaves, okay, it's a lot stronger and more resilient than our foxtail, obviously. It inherits the smooth look from our foxtail. See how smooth it is, and also the edges are not as serrated. I'll show you a agave americana, right? Look at this. These are super sharp, super spiny on this plant, and not so much on these guys here. Okay? They're a little more frost resilient than our other agaves. And it's a lot more hardy. And so this guy is really easy to grow and propagate and keep in your garden. And they're very blue. Here's more glowy leaves here. So they glow like that. And every blue moon, get these really pretty flowers. And they'll seed. Here we go. So they seed like this here. Little seeds. And you can plant these and they might grow, they might not. Kind of a crapshoot, but if you're going to propagate it, I just think you should use the little pups down here. There you go. It's our Blue Flame Agave, the hybrid of Foxtail Agave and Shaw's Agave. How about that? So, hope you liked that video. Have a great day. Bye.